let's do a quick overview about how to put together the J.P. Ryan short gown for anyone who's just not sure how these pieces go together. This isn't going to be super fancy. If you want the hand-stitched, really careful version of this, there'll be some other better sources for that. But if you're putting this together for the first time and you don't have a friend to help you through it, I made a mini version of all of the pieces. The main pieces are the body, the sleeve, and this little triangle gusset piece. I'm making them out of ridiculous scrap fabric. Don't do this. You make yours out of all the same pieces, but I want you to be able to see the different pieces as I put them together. So let's start by cutting them out. This is on a fold up here because the pattern says to fold it right there. We've got this doubled over because I'm going to need 2 sleeves. And I'm going to need 4 of these triangles. I'm going to need to make this one twice. So I've traced it. I'm going to have another one. So when I'm done, I'm going to have 4 triangles. There's all my pieces. I have 2 sleeves. Now remember, you don't want them to be all different colors like this. This is silly. This is so that you can see how the pieces go together. Okay, the first step is to put these little triangles, J.P. Ryan calls them the extensions, on the bottom of your short gown. So you see you get the neck of the short gown. Those would be the arms. This little flat part is where you're going to attach the triangles. If I put this right side up, you will notice that the part of your triangle with the little notches cut off is going to be the same size as that spot there. That's where it's going to go, right there. That's where your triangles are going to go. So you have 4 triangles. And you're going to put them on the 4 bottoms because remember, we had a fold at the top. Okay, so there's the right side of my fabric. And I have a right side to put there. And I have a right side to put there. I can pin those on. And when I do, I'm going to do the same thing when I flip around that to the other side. Let's pin them so you can see. Yours will be the same color as your short gown. Yours will not be a different color like this, but let's attach them so you can see my old little pins here. Da, da, da. So I went right side to right side with those triangles. If you're using linen, it might not really have a noticeable right side. And then I'm going to go flip. And now I have the right side of this. And I'm going to go same thing. Right side to right side. Da, da, da. Ta-da! And I'm going to pin it because I'm not making my mini sample by hand. I'm going to do it on my sewing machine. And I won't tell if you do it on your sewing machine too. There we are. I just like to hold this in place because I'm making a cute little mini scaled down one. But I'm going to sew that and we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, now they are sewn. So if this is the right side of that piece, this is our big body piece, and this was the right side, and we went right side to right side with these. little notchy end against the straight part, and we sewed it. Zoop. And now, right side of my ridiculous scraps to right side of ridiculous straps, you can see we get a little poof out. We get that little poof out on all four sides. See, there it is on the other side, and they're all separate. There we go, like that, and like that. This is the inside. You see the seams on the inside. Now, if you're making something out of linen and you're going to wash it a lot, you may want to take all your seams and fell them. You can watch another video about how to fell your seams. That takes your little raw edges and smooshes them down so they won't unravel on you. I'm not going to bother on this. And if you're making your very first one and you're not worried about it unraveling, you just want to test it out, then you don't have to worry about it either. But just know that we'll make it last longer, and that's a good way to keep it from unraveling, is to fell your seams, and I'll let you look up videos on that. The next part of the instructions that JP Ryan wants us to put together is to put the sleeves on. Sleeves on this are amazing. You don't have to set in sleeves. You're going to take your two rectangles that you made, and mine are silly. You're going to open up your whole body, so you see the neck and everything like that. And you're going to right side to right side. This doesn't have a right and a wrong. You're going to pin it there. Zoop. And pin it there. Zoop. And we're just going to sew it there. So all I need to do is worry about pinning that side and pinning that side. All right, they're all sewn. Ta-da! Ta-da! There's the right side of the garment. You can see where our triangles are on the bottom. Right there. There's some on the other side, up there. We haven't bothered cutting the middle yet. If we cut it too soon, it'll unravel on us, right? So I'm kind of waiting on that. But we can see that these sleeves are attached. Now the next thing, shoop, is fold this in half and match triangle to triangle and sleeve to sleeve and side to side and sew up, do that. And that's how you get your underarm sleeves and your sides done. No setting, just magic sleeves. Like that. So I'm going to pin that and we're going to sew that. I mean, could I have cut down the middle parts? Sure. But this is ravelly. I don't want it to unravel. Okay, now the side seam is sewn. It went here, here, all the way here. And that's where that seam went. You'll see this triangle is part of this now. So now we just sew it like it's part of the side. Just like that. Again, you can fell all your edges if you want to make sure it doesn't unravel. I'm not bothering because this is scrap cloth. So what should we do next? Well, I think we should open up the front and make that finished. Okay, now you can have this marked on your piece before you start sewing, but I didn't. But remember, this pattern piece has the deeper neck and that line, and that is how we know what we have to mark on the front. And so I will use a marker that you normally would not do, but sometimes I use pins to mark this. See, we know that is going to be that center line there, right? So I know that center line is going to kind of go like that. You can't really even see that, but you'll just have to imagine. Don't use Sharpie on your real thing, just giving you an idea. And so however you want to transfer that line, you could cut this out and just save it the next time you use it, however you want to do it. Okay, now we're going to open this up. Okay, ready? On your mark, get set. Notice I'm not cutting both layers, see? The back is fine. I'm just cutting that. And see, leaving the back. The back is fine. So now you can see this. We've cut that open. Now I have a secret for you. One thing I noticed about the J.P. Ryan pattern is this tends to come up too high sometimes when you're wearing it. So at this point, you may want to put it on. Make sure this matches up at your shoulders. The back will still be too big because you have to pleat it. And you may find that you want this to come down a little bit lower because you want it to come up a little bit lower, maybe just above your bust line, so that you have some room to tuck in your neck handkerchief or something like that. So you may, when you try it on, want that a little bit lower. But for now, we'll just leave it. That's what the pattern says. We took out that much. We left the back uncut. We left the back uncut here. And we opened that up. So now the next thing we need to do is pleat that back so that it shrinks up a little bit and it's nice and fitted and it doesn't look too baggy when you wear it. So let's see if we can look at pleating up that back. Okay, right side out. Remember, we've got our little triangle gussets down on the bottom. Yours will blend in. I was silly. I used other fabric. So you could see, bloop. Gives you a little more poof. Let those hips fit in there. Okay, we've got this. What we're going to do is look at that wide back. What we're going to do is we're going to put some pleats in there to shrink up the back a little. You're only going to go down about that far. There's lines on your pattern you can copy. Okay, so if you have the center of the back, this would be good if I could do it on a person. It doesn't quite fit my doll. And it says your first one is going to be an inverted box pleat, and there's lines on the pattern. You can draw the lines on there, but since I made the pattern small, it doesn't work. So I want to pin that first one down so it's a kind of a box on the inside. And I'm going to pin both sides, and I could press them down with an iron if I brought one up here, and see I've made a box on the inside. And then when I pin those down, I'm going to do stitch, 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 just some hand stitches right down there. A machine stitch is going to look a little too heavy. Do, do, do. And I'm going to stop about there because I want the extra fabric for my hips. I don't want it to be skinny at my hips. Goodness knows. And then I'm going to make a couple more. And how many is really just depending on how it fits on your shoulders. Maybe you want lots of space in the back and you don't want many pleats. Maybe you need a lot of pleats because you have a narrow back. This is the way you can fit this thing. And again, I can just put a couple pins in here, and I'm going to do a hand stitch, probably skinnier, but a hand stitch right down there to hold that in place. And maybe we'll do a matching one over here. Matching is nice, right? And also, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep about exact measurements. I know pleats kind of sound scary, and we lose a little sleep over them sometimes. But they don't have to be. This is a comfortable square work garment. I can just stitch a few of those down. I want the little stitches to hold that pleat in place a little bit. And then that part will be fitted. Okay, a little more about these pleats. This little box that's on the inside, that should be the center of your back. Didn't really mark that here, so don't look at mine too close. And then this is what I mean. It's really, should have used another color so you can see it. If you do some hand stitches down these pleats, pin them down, stick them on your ironing board and press those flat. And then you only need to stitch down the edges of them a little bit. And then they can poof out where you need a little more space in the back. You know what I'm talking about. And one way I keep it all along the line is I do all my stitching on the top. So I don't have to worry about finding the straight line again. And I can just keep going along the top. Here, let's get that pin out of the way. That pin was nice while I was making my pleats, but now it's in the way. And kind of hard for me to do this for you on the video. But I'm holding the pleats down flat, and I'm just doing it on top. If you do this by hand while you're watching TV, they can be messy. No one will really notice. It's okay. Don't worry if you're not one of those people that sews really careful. I don't want to sew it to my pants. I'm just trying to keep it in the camera. But I am sewing all along the top so I can always make sure my pin stays on the edge of that fold, and I can stay on the edge of that fold all the way down to there. Alright, well, I have sewn, they're not quite in the middle, so don't look at that, but I have sewn the pleats down. I just did those little messy stitches. Don't lose sleep over them. They're just holding that in place. But if you do them by hand, they're going to look really good. And they'll impress people who will never know you did these inside ones on your machine. I won't tell them. You can press all this flat, and honestly, you're pretty much done. You just have to finish the edges so you don't have anything ravelly. So I would take this, press it all nice, probably even out any little edges that are not quite in line. That's not cheating. You're allowed to do that. Take your scissors and just even those out. And then all you're gonna do is fold up all your edges and stitch them closed. Stitch them down. Do your edges here, do your edges here, do your edges in the middle. You're gonna do all of these all around the neck. You're just gonna go over. Your iron is your friend. Press that down. It makes it easier to stitch it. If you stitch this by hand while you're watching a good movie, your short gown is going to look amazing, because that's the only stitches people can see, is those stitches in the back. They can't see all these cheat machine stitches on the inside. So if you do that by hand, highly recommend. Again, don't lose sleep if it's perfectly neat. Totally fine. Just keep that thing down. And then you have a short gown. Your short gown will not be silly and patchwork like this. I did that so you can see where the pattern pieces went. You will not have, that will be the same thing. Yours will not be made out of ticking. That's just leftover stuff that I had. And then, and you may have decided to make this a little bit deeper in the neck. That's fine, because now you're going to hem all that over. And once that's hemmed all over, you're ready to wear it. You're just going to cross it over and stick some straight pins to put it on, which means you've got a lot of flexibility depending on your sizing, or if you lend it to a friend, it's a different size. Easy peasy. And then of course you shaped it in the back a little bit with that, and you have made a JP Ryan short gown. You just didn't do it with silly different colors like I did. Look, there's another end. All you need to do, hem it over, tack it down. And you can roll these up a little bit while you're wearing them. If this is too long and you're doing some work, go for it. Roll that up a little bit. That's fine. But that's it. You made a short gown. Good job. Yours doesn't look as silly as mine. So even better job. There's the pattern piece we didn't come out is a little piece of binding. You don't need to put binding all over the edges because most of them you're just going to hem. You're just going to turn it under twice, press it, hem it down. You'll be happy. Back here, you might find if your fabric is thick that you can't turn it over twice and hem it because you've done all these pleats up here. So you can make out of the same fabric of your whole outfit, you can make a little piece of binding and you can put that binding on top to make it all tidy. I don't have a piece here, so I didn't bother to cut the binding because I don't care. That's what that little tiny rectangle of binding in your pattern is for, is just to kind of neatly cover up the edges of your pleats for after you put those in.